Okay, come. All right. As usual, I'm just gonna start. A few things before to all these like super high definition lovers. This video is shot in 1K, if that's like, if that means anything. Why? Well, there are several reasons. One of them being that all this hype for high definition, I mean, we used to have high definition and then it turned out to be ultra high definition, right? Like 4K and stuff. And yeah, this camera can shoot 5K. But I also chose now to just change the settings to 1080p, which is then 1920 pixels times 1080 pixels, right? And if you double that, these dimensions, you have 2K, and if you double that, you have 4K, right? And if I look at my screen, right, and it's 1080p, the quality is fairly good, and that's like I don't know how much inch does it have, 27, I don't quite know. I have like an external additional screen and that looks fairly well, 1080p. If I go to a 52 inch TV screen, the movies that I create with 1080p still look fine. Now, I said already, my laptop is fairly small. And I don't have a lot of space available, nor do I have the money to just buy more storage at the moment. And so if I record myself talking, and it seems like that these videos tend to get longer and longer, and not really, because right, my SD card only holds 64 gigabyte. And if I put a file 60 gigabyte onto my laptop in its current state, I have 60 gigabyte left. And that means when I render, Amy, come, I feel stressed, because I don't know if it's gonna be able to render it. Plus it puts extra stress on my working device, which is what it is for me. I use it to work, and therefore yeah, it's ridiculous. But I've been filming myself so often again, and now I see myself walking holding this ridiculous device, and it annoys me. Maybe because I just see, you don't really see people walking without a device anymore. So generally I get to this state where I really hate electronics. I hate this hype of, it has to be super high definition. And then you get to movies like Marvel, where everything has to be like, perfect and super sharp, and it just looks shit. Because what people are trying is to create things that look like they're real, but they're not, and they will never be. And therefore it's just an attempt to create reality with something that is an illusion, and that makes no sense. Virtual reality is all it's ever going to be, and that's virtual. And that virtually means, that's not her place to sniff here. I want to continue. We have a schedule. I'm just not going to walk that far today because my feet are fucked, and so am I, right? I feel slightly empty, so I'm not gonna go swim today. I'm gonna do that another time, simply because I went swimming yesterday, so there's no need to do that again. And now also that I, change the settings to 1080p is also something that I want to try. I want to look at my screen and I want to see if the quality is then really as bad, as I think it is. And unless I just try this, today I also brought no toy, by the way. Fuß. So yeah, generally, unless I want to make things easier for myself. I want to make things easier for myself because I'm struggling as it is, right? I'm struggling, so I want to make things easier for myself. So I put up the hood, right? Because in the hood, I feel a bit more relaxed right now. It gives me that feeling of extra comfort, right? Yeah, it's like pooping somewhere where nobody can ever hear you. It's much more comfortable than pooping when when the toilet is next to the kitchen and the walls are really thin. It's like, oh my god, they're gonna hear me. Well, of course, it's something you can pay attention to so that you can relax while pooping, even in an environment where people might hear you and then potentially judge. While it's ridiculous to judge somebody pooping because everybody's pooping. Of course, if your diet is a bit slacky, if you've let your diet slack and you're full of like bacteria and fungi that feast off your mainly sugar and like carbohydrate, grain, gluten, flour, dough kind of diet, they're gonna have a feast. And your toilet's gonna have a feast. Why? Because you're gonna explode into it every time, and like I said, your feces are gonna be sticky and gonna be all over the place. You're gonna fart a lot, because that's what happens if you overload your system with things like sugar and like pasta. I'm talking just about the general pasta made from wheat flour. Why? I can tell you the reason why you probably fart a lot. Now, I'm not saying I'm not farting a lot, but there's people that certainly fart more. But yeah, I still fart a lot, but I'm also doing a cleanse at the moment. So the reason why people fart a lot and they're like overly bloaty is, okay, you eat sugar that is just like that, like small particles of sugar. And then you eat all this flour and stuff. It's all like very small particles. And then you eat that, and it's basically, mixed with the gluten. It's overloading your system, so that cannot all be, digested. If you eat, let's say, a pear, you have like fructose and stuff, but it's mixed into the pear. It's not like an extract, right? So your body dissolves the pear, and then it makes all the nutrients and stuff accessible. If you eat a lot of like spongy dough-like bread things, this stuff, that's, I have a very basic understanding of diet. I haven't read a lot of stuff. I'm ignorant of a lot of the biochemical things that are happening. I just see certain connections from what I've learned from other people, such as, there's a reason why cheese makes you tired. So if you eat a lot of cheese, You either have to accept that you're tired a lot, or that the reason you're eating cheese is because you want to be tired. Then you can ask yourself, why do I want to be tired? Yeah, because you're probably, that's then what I'm going to say, because so you can hear it, as basically saying it to yourself, only through my mouth. When you're tired, nobody can expect anything from you, least of all you, right? In that sense, because if I'm tired, I have the feeling I have an excuse to rest, because life is so difficult, there are so many choices, including the choice of what to eat. Now, yesterday evening, I ate, I made like a dough and I used spelt, right? But at the moment, it's like a trade-off, right? Yesterday, I actually wanted to be tired. And that's why I made like a kind of a pancake, with egg and spelt, which still contains gluten, and oats, which also still contain a small amount of gluten, but gluten nonetheless. And I put cheese on there, because I really wanted to sleep, because I was like, bam! I was like full of energy, and I thought, what else am I going to do today? And so I made this meal. Hey! Ja, jetzt musst du dich selber beschäftigen, hopp! Right? Yeah, I'm trying to learn now to keep focus on her. Yeah, los. Because, I don't want her to feel neglected or rejected or something. And still give her the feeling, I'm not gonna throw you a stick without being a dick about it. Because that's what I've done previously. Every time she expected me to throw a stick, I would feel like overly annoyed. Because you can, hear her attention on me and her expectation oozing, into my system. And so that shouldn't make me angry. Of course, if you've got nothing to give, expectations from other people may keep you really busy trying to fulfill them until you figure out one day that you cannot fulfill everybody's expectations. And that means you have to start choosing what kind of expectations you are trying to fulfill. And that includes expectations you hold for yourself. All right. Today it took me a fair amount of figuring it out, because I was starting the day under the impression I would go back to that mining site, the stone mining site. I want to walk a bit slower so that she can feel a bit more chilled about sniffing and stuff. Hello? Yeah. But it's still sometimes a bit disconcerting, if she walks behind me with that expectant look. I have to give her that. She's very good at it. To non-verbally show me what she expects from me.
Ja, was ist denn? Ja, was ist denn?
You see, I don't know why I talk like that. It's because it feels like it makes her happy. Yeah. But today I thought maybe she can just play a bit with other dogs and stuff. Have I said already, I made this hat myself. This is the second hat I ever made. Yalos? And she just has to figure it out today, right? I can just do my own thing. I've been thinking about some things to show you. It's like, whoa, he just jumped on that. Oh, awesome, right? And, it's like, wow, you can run and make like really awesome circles, or you can just run like, I have to run today because it's really healthy. If I don't go, people are going to make fun of me. So, now yesterday I was ending the day under the impression that I would go back to that stone mining site. Yeah, she just threw that in front of my feet. I'm not gonna do it today. So play with yourself, play with other dogs, be happy without sticking to me. But yeah, sometimes you just have to ignore her a bit until she gets into the flow of playing with yourself. Right, and that's sometimes people, maybe they contact me or, you know, I talk with them, and until the point I engage with them, they're basically wasting away, you know, in their own space, waiting for something to happen. You know, maybe until they get that nudge in the right direction. Well, what's the right direction? Basically any direction that brings you closer to your goal. Now, what's your goal today? My goal was, as it was yesterday and the day before that, and you know, a lot of days in the not so distant past, to create content. And so today I was thinking about how would my day look if I would produce content and feel like I like that, without having the desire to fulfill an expectation that I literally thrust on myself because I wanted to be overly strong. And if you haven't watched it yet, I mean, it's okay, it's also just been rendering, but you know, it's going to be published before this one. So yeah, question. It's called emotional treadmilling. And there you can see, just before I go for that swim, somewhere at the end of the video, if you're too impatient to watch the whole thing, you can see, because I'm filming myself, right? And as you can see, you know, I could see it because I'm paying attention to my facial expressions and, you know, the vibe I give off. You know, I'm walking and I see that little pond with that awesome, like, artificial waterfall. You know, I was eyeing that already previously, and I thought, I think I could swim there. You know, it's not the first time I came across it. It's like already a couple of times, and every time I thought, could you actually swim there? But then I thought it's dirty because of all kinds of reasons, and then I came to the conclusion it's probably just groundwater that they're pumping somewhere else so that, you know, they can do their mining and stuff, and that there's not like a swamp where all these cars are driving to exploit Mother Nature, yeah? So I could also hate that place because it's a symbol of industrialism. But right now, this symbol of industrialism gives me the freedom to go nuts. And so, yeah, you could ask yourself, why am I not going there today? Well, maybe I am, right? I don't know. And that's the genius about not judging things from the look of it. Oh wow. But that, what? You see, now I'm confused. I want to go down and then I want to go up again, because that's then, you know, I'm talking about, oh, how awesome was it to go swimming there? But I don't want to go there again because it's a really long walk. And today I feel like exposing myself to people, because that's a challenge today and it makes me feel uncomfortable. But I also feel like now I packed the things, right? So sometimes I have to decide on what to do before I leave the house, just a rough direction. You know, okay, this is how my day is going to look like. And that's something that gives me stability. Of course, the reason I can do that is because I've tried all kinds of things. I know how it feels like to slackline in the park where there's a lot of people. I know how it feels like to slackline somewhere where I'm alone. And I know how it feels to go hiking, because my goal today was to go out, to leave that bubble of mine and to expose myself to nature and to whatever wants to happen, yeah? And that, of course, is my everyday challenge at the moment, you know? At some point, my everyday challenge was to create lots of images so that I would learn how to create images. And then there was a different phase in my life where my challenge was creating a lot of podcast episodes, you know, so that I could feel good, you know, about having created lots of podcast episodes and knowing that they're going to be scheduled every week of the year 2023. Like, there's not a gap. There's not one week without an episode, you know. That's you know, even that isn't that like a nice advertisement. So if you're interested to listen to me without having to look at a screen, and to just get some ideas, these episodes are generally about 1 hour long. Yeah, so if you feel like diving into that, you know, I started somewhere in 2021. There's like more than 150 episodes available where I talk about all kinds of things, perspective and all kinds of things, you know, everything I thought about ever since I started and everything that came to my attention. And that's ice. Yeah. You know, I couldn't have done these kinds of moves a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Up, up. Up, 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 up. She just always gets back to that. I want to play with you. I want to play with you. Maybe I'll just have to have her walk behind me without trying to make her feel good about walking behind me, because it's her choice, you get that? And that brings me to the topic. I really love how my mind works, or the mind. You know, I can't really say it's my mind, because if I would claim it to myself, you know, my ego would start saying, "Oh, it's my mind. You know, I'm doing all of this." You know, but the ego's not running the show, right? The ego isn't creating the things that we eat. The ego does nothing of that. The ego just claims it for itself so that you as a person can grow in a certain sense, because that's what the ego is, like greed, right? And of course the ego itself, it's like egocentric, is a blessing and a curse, because if something like the ego exists, which some people claim, you know, I'm not so sure, because in the end, you know, it's just me. Yeah. But ultimately, you know, that's what keeps you alive. You know, this is me, this is how I feel, and in the moment where I feel something, it doesn't matter why I feel this. What's important is that I feel it, and to acknowledge that feeling. So if I feel like I've been pushed around all my life, right? You see the topic unfolding, or I see it, then I have to change something, or I have to accept it and keep living like this. I mean, I always have to accept it, right? Because when I accept it, I can start working on that. Holy shit, you know, I feel miserable because most of my needs are being walked on a leash by expectations from people who don't know what they want. And so it's like a cycle of unfulfilled needs and ridiculous expectations based on the needs that other people have and that they want you to fulfill for them. So, right, if you have the need to be hugged and cuddled, you may be like other people and wait for birthdays so that you can hug everyone. Wow. But hey, my feet warmed up much quicker today, but the ground is frozen. I mean, didn't have to show you because the ice is cracking. Also it's like really frozen, the ground itself. But my feet warmed up, so I wore long trousers. You see how my mind is trailing away from making a point again? The point is about being the pawn. Why am I talking about being the pawn? where does even the concept of the pawn come from? Well, I can tell you. So yesterday, I was sitting at my designated eating spot that I've adopted at the moment. Yeah, and I was eating these heavy pancakes with cheese and gherkins on top, sliced gherkins, and also canned tomatoes. So it was a fairly simple meal, but you know, it served its purpose. So I also cannot say I'm overly angry at myself for eating this, because it brought me to a new idea. Because it also helped me to calm down a little, right? Wow. And you know, what's the point? The point is, the idea that I had was ask, I'm gonna name him Tristan, because he also has a podcast called Denkmal Podcast for anybody who's interested in German content. Because I also wrote a book with him called The Dignity of the Unvaccinated in English and Die Würde des Ungeimpften in German, which deals with discrimination in general projected onto the topic of you know, being unvaccinated. Yeah, being discriminated for not vaccinating, which basically means being discriminated for not feeding the expectations of other people that want you to get vaccinated because they are afraid to die. Yeah, so that's a mindset. I'm afraid to die. Whether you know, your mindset, your mind is set on your fear of dying. That determines all your actions. Whether you leave the house or not is usually determined by fear. Of course, also leaving the house can be determined by fear, but at least that's gonna get you moving. Because yeah, you know, I'm like eager to continue because I'm also afraid to be stuck, but I use my fear constructively, which transforms it into physical strength, emotional healing, and all kinds of things, because I also don't overly push myself, yeah, to the brink of destruction. And so yeah, today I was exhausted, but yesterday I had this idea: let's ask Tristan if he wants to play chess. And I thought, hey, he lives somewhere else, but we can still play online chess. And until now, you know, chess itself has been kind of reverberating at the periphery of my awareness, and now it suddenly came more into focus, and the plan started to develop. Hey, play chess, man, learn how to play chess, because that will teach you how to make a strategy a bit better for yourself. Let's say, you know, you want to go out more. How are you going to achieve this, you know? And which piece on the chessboard are you? Well, technically, you are all of the pieces, but some people act like they're just the pawn. And that means they're going to be pushed around and they're going to be sacrificed. And you have more pawns than kings and queens and rooks and bishops and knights. And so I have spent then one evening playing chess and lost every time. And then I played a couple of times against the computer. Yeah, at which, you know, I also lost every time, because I have trouble to see the whole picture. Like the chessboard itself, with all the figures on it, is like your life, right? Maybe your diet could be eating habits. Yeah, so if you're like stuck on eating lots of sugar and gluten, you know, you can try or make up a plan how you could move the pawn to the end of the chessboard in one game so that you can call upon another queen. Yeah, so you can transform a pawn into a queen. And if you have a pawn-like mindset, which is, I'm a victim and I deserve to be pushed around, well, that's something to work with. So acceptance and then action, instead of acceptance and, you know, smoking a giant bong and just nourishing your depression like it's some kind of baby that needs to be cradled or something. You know, you could say, you know what, I see you, depression, and I'm gonna give you love, you know, instead of shit. So I start changing my mind by thinking about the things that are responsible for my depression. And the more I figure out these things and I start moving pieces on the chessboard of my life, things become apparent a little. And that's just what one evening and like solving a few chess puzzles have done for me. Already brought to my awareness the concept of strategy and chess, but you know, I didn't try that when I didn't feel like it, because I've been thinking about chess for a while now, and but every time I thought about it, I was like, nah, because I thought about who could I play with, and there was nobody. Until I thought about Tristan, and I thought, oh, I could play with him. But I also realized, okay, I'm quite shit. Or you could say, I'm unaware. And what does that mean? You know, it's like this again. She's walking behind me, looking up to me, because she thinks I ought to do something to make her feel better. And so I could go back to playing with Tristan every time without practicing. You know, it's like wanting to learn the piano, but apart from going to the lessons, you know, you don't practice. So, you know, I made up my mind, I wanna know how to play chess, right? I wanna learn how to do this kind of stuff. And that means to me, I want to practice, you know, now I'm game, you know, I want to learn how to play chess, because maybe that's my way out of, you know, it gives me something to do, something other than masturbating or watching porn. So the more I play chess, the less I'm going to watch porn. And that's, to me, you know, chess is going to make me stronger, whereas pornography is going to make me weaker. Na du? Also, sie kann ruhig schnüffeln und so. Aber wenn was ist, dann gehe ich halt dazwischen. Nur sie ist so ein bisschen schüchtern. Aber das kriegt man ja nur los, indem man was dagegen macht.
Haben Sie denn kalte Füße?
Also das ist eigentlich so, der Körper macht das irgendwann von alleine.
Ehrlich?
Also meistens beschweren sich eher die Leute, die Schuhe tragen, dass sie kalte Füße haben.
Okay, ich spüre schon, wenn ich...
Weil das ist ja Training. Also ich bewege meine Füße und dann kriegen sie Muskeln und dann ist die Durchblutung besser.
Okay.
Und weil das meine Wurzeln sind,
Hallo.
läuft das ganze System besser.
Okay.
Ja.
Ich würde es mich nicht trauen.
Ja.
Das Erste, was ich anziehe, so haben sie Socken, auf jeden Fall.
Ja gut, wenn ich zu Hause bin, habe ich dann auch Socken an.
Ah, okay.
Aber Komfortzone muss man verlassen, weil sonst wird man weich und dann ist man schlecht gelaunt.
Okay.
Aber
Also wenn es klappt, dann ist es ja gut.
ja.
Du kannst dich nicht überlegen. Naja, auf jeden Fall habe ich so Freunde. Ich freue mich drauf. Ja. Weil,
Ist das selbst gemacht? Nee?
nein.
Okay.
Selbst gekauft aber und ausgesucht.
Sieht so nach Etsy aus oder so.
Keine Ahnung, aber aus dem Urlaub mitgebracht. Sieht auch
Okay.
schön aus.
Ja, so Perlen.
Sieht's auch, ja. Aber irgendwer dumm ist heute nicht raus.
Ja, du willst nur mit mir spielen, aber ich habe heute nichts für dich.
Am liebsten in den Rucksack.
Ja, ich will, dass sie mit anderen Hunden spielt, damit sie tougher wird.
Ja, aber meiner spielt auch nicht so mit anderen.
Ja. Alright. You know, I also want to get used to being in the center again, you know, because that's what I'm actually good at. Sometimes trying to avoid that a little. So I'm not too bothered about turning off the camera. People ask me about being barefoot, okay, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, oh, you know, I would be afraid. Well, I don't know. You know, when I started, I didn't really think about it, but that's not really what I want to talk about today. You know, being the pawn, being other things. You know, what do I want? You know, I say I want her to play with other dogs. Well, maybe she doesn't like that. You know, she wants to play with me. All right, today I don't want to play with her. So I think she ought to do something else. But what if she doesn't want to? What if you're in a relationship and your partner only wants to spend time with you, but you want to spend time on your own? What are you going to do then? You know? Because that can be really annoying. If your partner is pushing the responsibility of having a good time onto you, because if you don't spend time with them, they're going to feel miserable. You know, and I see that in all kinds of things, friends, married couples, you know, just like relationships, whatever. In the end, it's the question of how you take responsibility and if you allow them to move the pieces on your chessboard without you saying anything about it. Maybe you're not even aware that they're doing it, because all you are concerned about is people paying attention to you as well. Yeah, and that keeps you then trapped because, you know, they can move you around like a pawn and feed you to all kinds of exercises that they want to do but you maybe don't. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem, and I still don't know how to find balance in that. So for instance, I like playing frisbee. Now if I'd be with my partner, she might not like playing frisbee. So who am I going to play frisbee with? You know, I could communicate it to her. Would you consider learning frisbee with me so that we can play frisbee together? Because, you know, I really like doing that. And then we could do that once in a while. It could be our thing, playing frisbee. It's possible. But if she says no, it's like anal sex, right? I have to accept it. And then I let it go. And maybe one day she's gonna come to me and say, okay, let's try, right? But maybe then you say, yeah, I think you're just gonna do that for me. I think when you said no, it was honest. And if she then keeps pushing it, actually now I'm really like fixed on it. I actually really want to try it just to see how it is like. And at least, you know, I can say I've tried. Whatever. Right? It's like sometimes people think about whether or not they're gay. Well, you can always try, but you also don't have to. You can think about it in your mind. You know, that's what I believe the mind is for. Looking for visions. Which means you're creating a vision in your head. You know, what's a vision? It's just something you see, and either you feed and nourish the vision or you let it slip. It's like, oh, I could be happy one day. Yeah, are you going to nourish that? Or are you going to say, that's impossible, and just going to like put it under the carpet or something? You know, that's for you to decide. So today I decided to just, you know, to only, you know, at least I'm going, you could say, go into the park, to put up my hood, to wear that hat, put on long trousers, but to still go barefoot. Yeah, so taking responsibility for your life. She wants to play, well, your problem. Because today I want to do some me time, because I can't be just running around fulfilling her needs. Because yesterday, I mean, in that video I mentioned emotional treadmilling, like I had a ball with me and I threw it and she went nuts over it, and when I didn't throw it, whoop. Yeah, she went nuts over it, and that kind of annoyed me. Come on. Because it's too much. I can't do that every day. I can't be every day having a ball with me to throw it for her. It's like having everyday sex. It gets boring. What's much better and nicer is to schedule it, you know, not like really schedule, but to, you know, to come together, to have like one evening of really awesome, I don't know, 5 hours sex, you know. And sex doesn't just mean putting your penis into somebody's vagina. Sex means laying down together on some kind of comfortable place, starting to touch each other, right, to like stroke each other, to undress each other, to first cuddle a bit, spend time with each other, start smelling and sniffing each other, and, you know, gentle kisses, and then slowly warming up to the other person's presence, you know, and then not like working towards an orgasm, because that's what tantric sex tries to teach to the people who want to learn about it. It's not just about the orgasm, it's about stretching out the time you are very intimate, where you feel like one, as one, with another person. That's like oneness through the method of sex. But there always has to be certain gaps between it, you know, that you can come back to yourself again. And that then brings me to smoking cannabis, because cannabis opens you up, right? What you do when you cuddle with your partner, opening up to your partner, is what you do when you smoke cannabis. You want to open up. But the problem is, when you do that every day, day in and day out, you smoke cannabis, you go amongst people, and then it opens you up to everybody in the room and to all the energies that are floating around in cities and stuff. And what does that mean? It means you are open to these things. They're gonna come right in, and you're gonna carry them home onto your couch, because you leave the city or a party and you go back home and you feel miserable. But because you always feel like this, because you probably always smoke and never really go into nature, you know, the reason I go barefoot into nature is to charge myself with positivity and strength, and to let weakness that I pick up from other people, and also weakness I harbor in myself, but it's just a form of energy. And I don't want to keep feeding weakness, I want to feed strength. But when I feel like today I can be weak, you know, I can be weak to a certain degree. You know, I'm not just walking in a t-shirt now, you know, I'm not doing this all out Wim Hof kind of stuff, simply because it's too much. You know, cold is, you know, can really free you, can be a method to work with depression. But, you know, I usually shower warm and then cold, because warm shower opens me up. Cold shower closes me again. Warm shower opens me up, washes away all the filth. Cold shower closes me up again. Wham! I'm composed in myself, right? Because I'm my own composition. You know, other people are a composition of anger, but I'm trying to be a composition of me, center. That's a feeling, and because I know how I feel like, by now I've worked hard to get everybody else's shit out of me. Right now I can start making choices for myself. So if I feel she's trying to pull me to go up there because it's her expectation and she likes that meadow because she thinks, you know, somebody's gonna play with her there, it's like her play thingy, and she's waiting like extra long to see if I'm really not coming, you know, it's okay, I can see that and I can still keep moving. And if she's smart, which she seems to be, you know, she waits, allows a bit distance to pass, and then she runs past me. Yeah, talking about morphogenetic fields and stuff. You know, it's not really the way I see the world, but I'm aware of the fact that people came up with things like the morphogenetic field, and that's also one of the first things that showed me that I understand things other people do not understand. You know, it's like, what does that even mean, do not understand? No, not yet maybe. Because I've worked to understand these things, I've worked to understand myself. And that's why, you know, I was creating a vision in my mind, going to that mining site and swimming and doing basically the same thing I did yesterday. And I had the feeling, no. I'd rather, for some inexplicable reason, do a bit like have a bit more chilled day and come to the park and slackline. And so that's what my choice has done for me now. That's where my choice has brought me now, into the park, slacklining, and seeing what's gonna happen, because this is the perfect weather for me. It ain't raining, so it ain't as draining, also not as draining as walking a lot. And I also decided I want to bring her here so that she can do her own thing, that she can like run around and go nuts about being a dog and having to play with other dogs, which is for her seemingly uncomfortable. And so now I'm just going to walk to that tree where I usually set up my slackline. And then of course sometimes you have to think about people seeing you, but that's just how it is. Du musst jetzt alleine spielen. Ist nix. Ist nix. Wow. Ist nix. So. Sitz, bleib. Platz, Sitz, los. Seid ihr von euch gelaufen? Oh ja. So ist gut.
schon angezogen, dass du den nicht bekommst.
Das ist jetzt einfach nur Angeberei.
Ganz fasziniert hier.
Ja. Ja gut, sieht man auch nicht so oft.
Ja. So, komm, fahr doch mal ein bisschen Dreirad. Ja, viel Spaß.
Ja, ja, ebenso. Cheers. Alright. Okay. Now this is something we've done already. So now I'm able to check whether people can see me or whether they would be in the camera, because that's of course something you somehow have to pay attention to. I think people's faces, and I don't want to spend a lot of time editing videos. I just want to record them and then mash them together, render it, upload it, so that I can spend my day doing other things than worrying about people's faces. So I can be smart about recording stuff by making sure people aren't really the focus of my recordings. So this is the spot where I've been going, mostly slacklining because it was the most easily accessible until I was fed up with it, because sometimes you just want to go to places that are a little bit more quiet, because here a lot of people can see you, and that can be very annoying if you're having a bad day. But of course, it's also a great challenge. Now I can even, I'm doing this because I'm raising awareness. Please keep that in mind. No, I do this on purpose. Yeah. Amy. But she seems to be fine. Bleib. Los. And so, one thing that I learned while I was doing this was that, on this side of the slack line, I'm not touching the ground, so it's a bit higher. Wow! So now, of course, also, because I only have one hand available, it's much harder. So, right, I want to be seen, because I have something to say, because I spent time looking at what I could say, but also something that simply happened to me. So if I have to find out who I am on the chessboard of my life, I have to see how I am in relation to the other figures. So I happen to be quite lively, quite energetic. I happen to have a lot of insights, a lot of visions, and my skill set is very variable. I could literally teach myself anything if I wanted to. But that's the thing, I don't want everything. Just as I only want one woman, I also only want certain things. So I couldn't do like motorcycle races because I don't see the point in that. And it's like overly fast. I can have an adrenaline rush just by moving my own body. And that's okay for me, right? That's my choice. That's how I roll, right? Just as the queen can move in all directions but cannot jump over people. Well, maybe I'm a knight, right? I like the knight the most, because to me the knight has the most freedom, and that's why maybe I like using psychedelics, because it helps me to jump over obstacles sometimes, because sometimes I'm the obstacle, and then when I do psychedelics, they help me to get enough distance between, my true self and the idea I have of myself, And that's why sometimes I use psychedelics to make music, and when that worked, I did it without. Right? So I made music with drinking coffee. I also made music without drinking coffee. I made music with eating sugar. I also made music without eating sugar. So ultimately, it all boils down to, I'm the one doing it. But the insights, they come from within me. So I'm not really generating insights. They're like being given to me because I'm looking for them. I'm looking for a clue of how to proceed. And then that gives me a vision, an idea of what I could do to get, if it's in terms of chess, to throw the opposite king, or to check it or checkmate it. And so, right, that's like quite difficult. And now I wanted her to play with the dog, now she's playing with the dog. Right, so, because I left her by herself. I don't want her to mate with that dog. So if you're in a relationship, you may want your partner to play with other people if she or he wants to. But, you know, in my case, I don't want my partner to sleep with others. And therefore, I don't sleep with others. I don't even cuddle with others. I don't even hug others or touch them if I feel lonely. No, then I touch myself. Then I hug myself. You know, if she's not there, I'm there. So I don't need anybody. You know, I don't need rapé. I don't need coffee. I don't need all kinds of things. And that means I'm kind of free. But I can still engage with people and substances because I know where my place is. And sometimes, you know, everything gets a little bit fuzzy. So today I feel a bit more clear because I just got a new order in today of rapé, which I haven't done in a while. And that cleansed me and I felt a bit tired. And then tears started pouring out. You know, like I said, you know, I described it fairly well in Letters to the Government, which is my first attempt at a novel. Wow, it's really hard right now to do both at once. Also ich gehe mit ihr. Also so Besitzanspruch habe ich nicht, aber...
Aber er gehört zu Ihnen?
Ja.
Er gehört zu Ihnen?
Ja, genau.
Ja, Walter ist ja ganz begeistert von ihr.
Ja, die
Ist das ein Pudel oder ein Hybrid?
spanischer Wasserhund.
Ach,
So nennt man den wohl.
ich dachte, es wäre ein Golden Doodle, also Golden Retriever mit Pudel, sieht ja auch so aus.
Ja,
Spanischer Wasserhund. Hatte doch der Obama, glaube ich, auch, ne?
boah, keine Ahnung.
Und seine Tochter war die sollte mit Haaren.
Ja, das stimmt, man muss die rasieren.
Genau. Die hat aber Temperament.
Ja,
Ist noch jung?
ja so 1,5,
Ja.
ne 2 sogar fast schon.
Er ist noch keine anderthalb. Er ist 1 Jahr und 4 Monate.
Okay.
Aber die gefällt ihm, Walter? Ja, mit der kannst du dich richtig austoben.
Ja, sie spielt auch nicht mit jedem, weil manche sind einfach sehr stürmisch und manche Hunde sind ja auch sehr unausgelastet, dann sind die sehr aggressiv.
Ja, gut. Aber die beiden?
Ja. Ja, deswegen, ich habe sie auch heute so ein bisschen, ich habe sonst mal einen Ball dabei, aber dann ist die so auf mich fixiert, das nervt
Kann
irgendwann.
man noch gar nicht machen mit Bällen und
Ja.
Stöcken. Das ist
Ab und zu mache ich das, aber heute dachte ich mir, nee, ich will hier mein eigenes Ding machen.
Und Sie trainieren hier für irgendwas oder ist es einfach nur das for fun?
Also, ja, just for fun. Nicht nur, also ich mache das einfach, weil ich weiß, warum ich es mache. Meditation, aber eben in Kombination mit Körper. Und ich hätte auch woanders sehen können. Ich komme halt hier hin, ich will, dass Leute das sehen, weil ich einfach nur nichts mache. Da muss man halt, wenn man sich darüber klar ist, einfach alternativ. Vom Start kommt jetzt nicht so viel, also muss man es halt selber machen. Also einfach, mach was. Und dann ist ja auch so, wenn es ein Cannabis
Weil das natürlich schon schwierig ist.
ja, Kuli macht das auch schon seit 12 Jahren ungefähr. Und da war das hier auch eine gute Herausforderung, weil halt Leute da sind und ich mich dann halten muss.
Sie zeichnen das auch und posten das bei irgendwo?
YouTube. Ja, auch Instagram. Also ich mache halt verschiedene Sachen. Ich schreibe Bücher, mache halt Videos, habe einen Podcast und dann zeichne ich das auch. Ja. Ja, ich habe jetzt nicht immer Lust drauf. Ich will es auch nicht verkaufen.
Warum Sie diese Schreibweite
Ja, das Ding
als meine Enkelkinder geboren sind, alle da angefangen. Eigentlich ist es viel Beschäftigung. Man muss sich konzentrieren, man sitzt nicht so blöd rum und dann auch im Fernsehen kann man das machen. Und man ist produktiv. Man macht, und gerade für Kinder, das ist nicht selber, das ist kein Angst, das ist keine Lust. Für Kinder ist man ja auch relativ, hat man auch schnell was Schönes fertig. Also so eine Kappe hat man ja auch schnell fertig.
Ja. Aber ich bin zwischenzeitlich auch ein bisschen wütend geworden. Man dachte, ich häkel mich einfach da durch.
Also wirklich wird man, wie man die Grundschulsachen macht und man merkt irgendwann, man hat einen Fehler gemacht. Das passt nicht zusammen oder so.
Ja.
Alles ist zwischenpräsent.
Auch im Grunde.
Aufziehen. Ach,
Ja.
die Stunden, die man da gesessen hat. Bei so einer kleinen Sache ist das ja nicht so schwierig. Aber wenn man der Tochter aber so ein Dreiecksbuch macht, einfach so viel zu spät an, das ist vom Verlauf her.
Ja.
Das ist alles wieder aufziehen.
Ja, das ist
Ja, das ist das.
Ich mache meistens, ich habe auch mal Stofftiere gehäkelt. Man kann sich ja auf YouTube auch diese Anleitung mal raussuchen. Und dann, aber im Moment, ich mache viele andere Sachen. Und dann, aber ich bin dran. Ich habe jetzt Sockenstrickgarn bekommen, aber da muss ich mich halt erst mit Stricken beschäftigen. Ja?
Normales strickt man ja mit 2 Nadeln.
Ja.
Und das muss ja dann noch so viereckig sein. Dann hat man das wirklich dann 4 oder 6 Nadeln. Das habe ich schon gemacht.
Ja, da habe ich jetzt auch, ich gucke mir glaube ich einfach auf Videos an. Bei Häkeln, das war irgendwie natürlich, ich habe auch so Handytaschen und so gehäkelt.
Ja, dann hat man eine Nadel und einen Faden.
Ja,
Das ist ja
genau.
auch sehr schön. Genau.
Ja.
Jetzt gab es bei Aldi auch so Stofftiere. Für den Hasen. Auch die Häkel. Mit Anleitung und so ein Füllmaterial und dann haben sie noch so das Nettes am Kopf, ein Schildchen von der Nase irgendwie. Ja, ganz lustig. Meine kleine Ex-Tochter ist in der ersten Klasse, die haben jetzt wieder Wahl für Tanzlehrer.
Ach so.
Finde ich toll.
Ja.
Das gab es ja lange nicht. Ne? Das sind doch alles wichtige Sachen.
Ja.
Muss man doch irgendwann, also Mutter wäre nicht schlecht, wenn man sowas könnte. Ne? Oder Kochen.
Ja.
Gibt es ja auch kaum noch in den Schulen.
Ja, das ist
Absolut wichtig, fundamental wichtig, dass man
Ja.
das kann.
Das ist wirklich so.
Ja.
Das ganze Mathematik und so, Hochrechnen, brauche ich im Endeffekt nicht. Also hätte die mir Häkeln beigebracht. Ich habe es mir dann selber beigebracht, weil ich es halt wollte.
Ja.
Und nach Sachen gesucht habe, die mich halt erfüllen und glücklich machen.
Ja, aber rechnen, man weiß ja nie, welchen Weg man einschlägt. Wenn man jetzt doch irgendwas mit Mathematik erzählt, das Qualität hat, oder brauchen doch irgendwann mal vielleicht Hochrechnung oder sonst was.
Kann sein.
Also, Grundlage soll man vielleicht noch legen, aber irgendwann vielleicht, wenn es dann ganz schwierig ist, mal fragen, was vorgeht.
Ja. Kleinere Klassen, wo man auch mehr auf die individuellen Bedürfnisse sagt. Hey, du bist ja der Christopher und du magst vielleicht das gerne.
Genau.
Also gucken wir mal bei dir, aber das ist halt alles so ein Topf.
Ja.
Aber gut, entweder man sagt halt irgendwann, ich muss was verändern, oder man bleibt so. Ich habe dann gesagt, irgendwie geht es nicht weiter. Ich habe viel Zeit auch allein verbracht und dann habe ich mir halt die Sachen beigebracht. Weil mein Umfeld hat einfach kein Interesse. Auch so was immer Spiritualität ist. Also mal nach innen schauen. Wenn ich nur häkeln gut werde, merke ich halt, das ist ja da. Die zeigen und beim Häkeln bin ich so für mich, dass ich das erstmal merke. So, ich habe dann gesagt, häkel einfach weiter, was ich da
Genau. Ja, genau. Ja, eben das Produkt.
Ja.
Die ganze Internet und so weiter. Ich glaube, das ist auch
Das ist auch eine ganz schöne Geschichte. Ich habe mir halt dann viele andere angehört, so Meister und sowas, die halt über so Beleuchtung und so ihre Methoden, Yoga, haben sie drüber geredet. Und da war einer, der hat einen Vortrag gehalten. Da kam am Ende eine ältere Dame an, die sagte, das, was Sie da erzählt haben von diesem Zustand, ja, das habe ich noch nie gehört. Und es ist im Endeffekt, es ist ja Meditation. Der Meditationsfokus. Ja, und ich gehe lieber in die Aktivität. Ich sitze nicht so gerne rum und mache rum, sondern ich gehe lieber rein. Ja, deswegen, ich muss wieder drauf.
Ja, machen Sie mal.
Oder Jacke anziehen.
Ja, wir haben um die 0 Grad, ne?
Ja.
Ist frisch.
Ja. Komischerweise, Füße sind eigentlich jetzt warm. Aber obenrum fühle ich dann aus. Und dann muss ich.
Füße sind noch
ja auch die Verbindung zur Natur, da kriege ich auch Energie zurück.
Die Natur ist ja jetzt auch kalt.
Ja, nur wenn man sagt, dass es kalt ist. Das ist ja wieder so ein Konzept, warm, kalt, der Eisbär, der ist einfach, also der, ich glaube nicht, dass der Kälte spürt.
Die ist auch ein bisschen anders ausgestattet als sie mit ihren knackten Füßen. Ne?
Ja, auch da. Das denke ich.
Ja, das steigen sie mal drauf.
Aber
Ich käme da gar nicht erst drauf.
man fängt auch so nicht an.
Ach
Also
ja?
man fängt eher so auf 1 Meter Höhe oder ein bisschen über dem Boden und dann erstmal laufen. Weil dieses auch so aufstehen auf dem Schneidersitz ist halt auch schon.
Allein das ist ja schon Hilfe.
Aber man fängt eigentlich in Bodenhöhe, also
Ja,
Bodennähe.
klar.
Aber irgendwann wird das halt.
Ja, dann würde ich Ihnen.
All right. Okay. Something else. Now I've been talking and I stood still, right? Because sometimes people come and then I have to say something, because that's what I'm here to do, right? I figured it out. That's what I want to do. And so if I want to dance with myself, right, I have to figure it out. But if people come and see me dancing and they ask me why I'm dancing, then they're gonna get an answer instead of an angry retort, which I would have had for them in earlier times. And to dance without music gives you the freedom to hear yourself and to come more into silence. So you don't need necessarily a silent retreat. You can just retreat into yourself when you need silence. So for that, of course, forests are a good place. Bleib. I want to place that here, actually. But how? Figure it out. Maybe like this. Amy. Hier. Sitz. Bleib. Platz. Sitz. Hier. Platz. Sitz. Platz. Und läuft.
Just to say, this is slightly how I feel sometimes when I'm smoking. It's like spinning me around, and so you can get there by yourself, but you have to put the work in it. But that also means that you learn to maintain the state that you want to get from cannabis, right? It's like what Wim Hof says, get high on your own supply. And I don't sit down very often to do breath work because it seems really heavy stuff, but to go running gets me breathing quite naturally. Yeah, so that's roughly. And so I've been practicing this, and the movement starts to sink in. And that's generally right. So now I can also try to fiddle a bit around with this to put it into a different position, like so. I haven't done that yet, so I can try. Because if you run like this, what does it do? It spins you around and it gets you moving, and that means you have to catch yourself. You know, you're spinning, you're walking through life, somebody comes and tries to take hold of you with an expectation, but you learn to roll out of the way because you say, leave me alone. In that sense, you know, I want to do what I want to do, which is this. And if somebody comes and tries to talk to me, you know, I can avoid that by saying, hey, I'm busy doing something else now. But also because I am busy, and I'm not just saying that, but I am literally busy. And then people are less likely to bother you because they know you're doing what you want to be doing. And if I move like this, I also have a spine workout, so the Kundalini can rise up, right? Third eye, higher wisdom, truth, less foggy perception of yourself. Right? And sometimes I would, right? You know, I'm not sure how this is going to look on a screen. Also don't have to really be bothered by that. Yeah, it's just, of course, the extra component. I know I can do these things, haven't done them in a while, so it's better to first learn them before you start filming yourself. It's like I realized against humans I'm not yet that good, so I rather train with a computer for a while, because that takes a bit of pressure off me, because the computer in that sense doesn't really judge. Because the computer has no mind in that sense. And of course something else that creates like a spinning effect is drinking alcohol. And that's then a way for people, right, to lose themselves. Da! See, she just runs. Now she has to search. So if you're just trying to blind yourself, right, because you didn't even know you're doing this, but everything that happens in your life that makes you feel miserable
is your doing. Right. So now I can try the slack line like this. Right. Oh, what a beautiful hat. And now I see, right, battery is getting low. But that's, for me now, it's actually something nice. Because it gives me the chance to restrict myself to talking a little less. One battery at a time with 60 gigabyte on 180p means only 30 gigabyte roughly of files, maybe even less. That to me is much more acceptable. So expectations from people, we want 4K, well, then go and complain about it, watch somebody else, then maybe what I have to teach isn't for you, because you want fake sharpness. Right? I want to teach people how to live, how to be present in the moment. If you don't like that, buy a car and be miserable. Right? And now I'm just going to put that here because I feel like that's what I want to do. You can just watch.
gucken. Kannst nicht einfach irgendwo hinrennen. Du musst auch gucken.
So yeah. So blaming other people for how you feel because you aren't watching. You know, you have to pay attention. If you're not looking, you're gonna fall over and over again until you've learned why you're falling. So drinking alcohol and laughing about hangovers may be funny when you're like 16, but at a certain age, it's just gonna be sad. Yeah. Sit. Loud. Platz. Los. And that's why, while I'm doing my workout, you're sitting in front of a screen watching me, because I've got something to teach and you're here to learn, and that's how we help each other. I've discovered my role in life, figure out yours. And then go like this, and you go something like okay. Right. To train flexibility in the hips, sit like this. It's called the deep squat. Can sit like this anywhere, right? Don't overdo it, but at one point, yeah, all that's gonna happen is your legs are gonna become numb. So just figure out your own limits. Okay, I'm just going to keep that going and direct it at the sky.
Hast du ihn? Amy, bring. Bring. Aus. Hierhin. Bleib. Sie hat den Ball geklaut. Bleib. Ja. Hier. Was? Ah, ist raus.
So in case you're getting like bored when you don't see me, that says something about yourself. It means you have trouble holding your own space, which means if you don't see me, you're feeling like irritated, anxious, nervous. So sometimes I'm going to include parts in my videos where I'm not in the camera, and that's then your time to focus on yourself and to learn to be patient, right? Instead of skipping through the video or stopping it, this is your chance to just enjoy nature through a screen at the moment and just connect with yourself. And if that makes you angry, just breathe into your stomach through the nose or through the mouth. Generally it's better through the nose, but if your nose is blocked, you can do a nose shower, and then you wait until the video is over or until I have something to say again. Right now I'm packing up my slackline, right? And these methods you can take into your day to practice mindfulness of your own state, holding your own space, so that if you would have a dog or a child or a woman, she could rest in the space that you create and maintain like a chief in a village. Yeah? That's what I do with my content. That's why I work alone.